For 3 years, Emperor Wen has been taking kingdoms apart with signatures and patience. He has made an empire disappear with paperwork. But now, in 167 BC, a single girl will force him to look at the law itself. Imagine a road in 167 BC. It is the 13th year of Emperor Wen of Han. In Rome, the Republic is finishing its war with Macedon. Hannibal has been dead for 20 years. Julius Caesar will not be born for another 113 years. And on a dusty road leading west toward the imperial capital of Chang'an, a man in chains is being dragged to his punishment. His name is Chun Yi. He is a doctor, a famous one. Until recently, he was the Taichang magistrate of Qi, the official who kept the grain storehouses of the kingdom. But someone has accused him, and the sentence has come down from the capital. One of the 5 punishments, the mutilations. Perhaps his face will be tattooed with ink and shame. Perhaps his nose will be cut off. Perhaps his foot will be amputated. Once it is done, it cannot be undone. And then, walking behind the cart, is a girl, 14 years old, one of his 5 daughters. She has no brothers. In a world where only sons can speak in court, that should be the end of the story. But it is not. This is the story of a girl who did not accept that the world had to stay the way it was. Her name is Ti Ying, and before this journey is over, she will change the law of an empire. To understand what Ti Ying is doing, you have to understand what Chang'an is facing. The Han Dynasty inherited its legal system from the Qin, the dynasty that burned books, buried scholars alive, and built the Great Wall with forced labor. The Qin believed that terror kept order. So when the Han took over, they kept many of the same laws, including the 5 punishments, the 5 ways the state could mark, maim or destroy a human body. The lightest was Qing, tattooing the face or forehead with ink, then Yi, cutting off the nose, then Yue, amputating the foot, then Gong, castration, then the worst, death. And the death came in many forms. These were not secret punishments, they were public theater. A man with a tattooed face could never hide what he had been. A man without a nose could never walk into a room without people seeing it. A man without a foot could never farm again, could never serve in the army, could never be whole. The point was not just pain. The point was permanence. Chang'an knows this. He is 50 years old, a doctor who has traveled between the kingdoms, treated nobles, delivered babies, diagnosed diseases. He refused to become a private physician for some kings, which may be why he now finds himself accused. The records are vague. One source says he was accused of refusing to treat someone. Another says a noble woman died and her grieving husband blamed the doctor. What we know is that he was taken from Qi, put in chains, and sent to Chang'an for the court to decide which part of his body to destroy. Ti Ying has not stayed home. Her father once looked at his 5 daughters and said, "I have no son. If only I had a son." It was the kind of thing a man said in despair, but it burned in Ti Ying. She was the youngest, perhaps the most stubborn. Certainly the one who could not let her father be dragged away. So she follows. The road from Qi to Chang'an is hundreds of li. She walks. She sleeps in barns, in fields, in the rough. She begs for food. She is a girl of 14 in a world where a girl traveling alone is practically an outlaw. But she keeps walking, because at the end of that road is the only man who can stop the knife, the emperor. Now we have to talk about that emperor. Emperor Wen of Han is not the man you would expect to find at the heart of a story about torture and mercy. He came to power by accident. He was the 4th son of the dynasty's founder, the illegitimate son of a minor concubine. He spent his youth as a prince on the northern frontier, watching the Xiongnu cavalry ride out of the steppe. He only became emperor because the powerful ministers slaughtered the Lu clan and needed a new emperor who was safe. A man with no powerful relatives, no army of courtiers, no dangerous ambition. He is 36 now. He has been emperor for 13 years. He has already abolished some of the Qin laws, the law that punished a whole family for one man's crime, the law that called honest criticism slander and witchcraft. He has reduced taxes. He is trying to prove that the Han can rule with something other than fear. But he has not touched the mutilation punishments. They are too old, too deeply woven into the idea of law. Until Ti Ying reaches the capital. Ti Ying does something extraordinary. She does not hire a lawyer. She does not appeal to a judge. She writes a letter directly to the emperor. A girl, a 14-year-old girl, writing to the Son of Heaven. The letter is preserved, more or less, in the histories. This is what she says. My father served as a magistrate in Qi, and the people of Qi praised him as honest and fair. Now he has been convicted of a crime and is to be punished. I am struck by this. When a man is executed, he cannot be brought back to life. When a man is mutilated, he cannot be made whole again. Even if he later wants to become good, the way is closed to him. I have heard that a son may redeem a father's guilt. I am only a daughter, but I beg to become your majesty's slave, to work in the palace for the rest of my life, if only my father may be spared and given a chance to begin again. It is a legal argument disguised as a daughter's plea. She does not ask only for her father. She points to a flaw in the law itself, that a punishment can be so final that it destroys the possibility of redemption. That the state, in its anger, can make a man into a broken thing and then expect him to be a better citizen. The emperor reads the letter. We do not know if he wept. The historians do not tell us, but we know what he did next, because he issued an edict that survives. When the punishment reaches the point of cutting off limbs and branding flesh, he wrote, the wounds never heal. It is agony without end. How can this be called the conduct of one who is the father and mother of the people? We command that the mutilation punishments be abolished. Let them be replaced by other penalties. It is 167 BC. The Han Dynasty is about to become the first major state in East Asia to systematically abolish the mutilation punishments. The details were worked out by the Chancellor, Zhang Cheng, and the Imperial Secretary, Fan Jing. Tattooing was replaced by shaving the head and wearing an iron collar, plus hard labor on the city walls. Cutting off the nose was replaced by 300 strokes of the bamboo rod. Cutting off the left foot was replaced by 500 strokes. Cutting off the right foot and certain crimes of murder were put straight to death, because the emperor reasoned that some crimes were too severe for mere beatings. And Chuan Yuyi? He was pardoned. Ti Ying was not made a slave. She was sent home with her father. But the story does not end happily. Not entirely. The law, after all, is a clumsy thing. The bamboo rod could be as cruel as the knife. 300 strokes could kill a man. 500 strokes almost certainly would. The histories record a grim truth. After the mutilation punishments were abolished, there was a reputation for lighter penalties, but in reality people were killed. Corrupt guards could make the beating light or fatal depending on how much a family paid. The body was spared, but the life was not. Emperor Wen's son, Emperor Jing, would have to fix this. He reduced the strokes. 500 became 300. 300 became 200. He regulated the thickness of the bamboo, the part of the body to be struck, the number of men who could administer the beating. It would take another century, and the Sui dynasty, to build the fully graded system of beating, caning, labor, exile, and death that China would use for 1,000 years. But the door had been opened. The mutilation punishments, which had been the foundation of criminal justice for 2,000 years, were no longer the law of the empire, and they had been opened by a 14-year-old girl who refused to let her father be thrown away. So why does this story matter? It matters because it shows us that the rule of law is not just about punishment. It is about what kind of society a ruler is trying to build. Emperor Wen did not abolish the mutilation punishments because he was weak. He had fought the Xiongnu on the frontier. He had crushed rebellions. He had ordered the execution of his own nephew when he had to. He abolished them because he understood a deeper principle, that a government which permanently destroys the bodies of its people is also destroying its own future. A man with a branded face cannot be a farmer. A man with a missing foot cannot be a soldier. A woman who has watched her father be mutilated will not trust the state. The law, in its cruelty, was making the empire poorer, weaker, and more afraid. Ti Ying gave him the moment. She gave him the moral clarity that the law itself had been waiting for. But the reform also teaches us something harder, that a good intention is not enough. The replacement punishments had to be reformed again and again, because the state is made of people, and people find ways to turn any tool into a weapon. Justice is not a single edict. It is a conversation that never ends. And Ti Ying, She disappeared from history after the pardon, but her letters survived, and the idea survived, that a child, a girl, a person with no official voice, could speak to power and change the law of the land. That is not a small thing. That is one of the foundations on which a civilization can be rebuilt. But Ti Ying's story was only one side of Emperor Wen's reign. The emperor was not just trying to be merciful. He was trying to make the empire rich. He was trying to make it fair. He was trying to prove that a government could take less from its people and still stand. In the next episode, a tax rate so low it sounds impossible. 13 years with no land tax at all. An emperor who wears patched clothes and refuses to build a palace. And the men who told him that a nation is only as strong as its farmers, Jia Yi and Chao Cuo. This was the emperor who taxed too little.